What's up, Taiwan? I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. There's been speculation that a reported delay in President Lai Ching-te's August travel plans, which may have included U.S. stopovers, is tied to ongoing tariff talks between Washington and Beijing. But U.S. officials are denying the two are related. Cadence Quaranta reports.
A trip to Latin America? Or maybe not. Speculation is stirring that Taiwan President Lai Ching-te has delayed an August visit to Latin American allies after Washington blocked his stopovers in the U.S., with some media reports suggesting the U.S. is trying to avoid irritating China amid high-stakes tariff talks. But when asked, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent denied this.
We are very careful to keep trade and national security separate. So the Taiwanese president's movements had nothing to do with our talks.
The U.S. State Department also responded, stressing that the U.S. had not changed its policy on stopovers by high-level Taiwanese officials.
Taiwan has not announced any travel plans for President Lai. So that is generally a hypothetical now. I know it's been in the news. There's been a lot of questions and a lot of suppositions here that have happened, but I can say that it is a hypothetical at this point. There have been no plans. Travel plans for the president. There's been, as a result, nothing canceled. I can tell you, though, a reiteration that transits by high-level Taiwan officials, including presidents, are fully consistent with our long-standing policy and practice. This has not changed.
The reactions come after Taiwan's presidential office on Monday said Lai had no plans for overseas trips in the near future. This raised some questions, as while Lai's Latin American tour was never officially confirmed by Taipei, local and international media had widely reported on an August trip to visit Belize, Guatemala, and Paraguay in Central and South America, a trip that would typically include stopovers in the U.S.
Often it's an opportunity to meet with senior U.S. officials, both in the executive and the legislative branch. It's also an opportunity for them to sort of meet with key allies within the U.S. And thirdly, it's a big media event. So a Taiwan president going through the United States on transit is able to get a lot of media publicity, is able to showcase what they are doing.
While the presidential office says Lai is staying in Taiwan to handle ongoing disaster recovery efforts and tariff talks with the U.S., there's speculation the U.S. might have come under pressure from China to deny the stopovers. In a post on Facebook, former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Washington's reported move to block the stopover sends a dangerous signal and has some analysts worried about a change in U.S. policy towards Taiwan. And there are signs other high-level exchanges have been affected as well. The Washington Post says Taiwan's Defense Minister Wellington Koo had planned a trip to the U.S. to meet top military officials in June, but that visit was abruptly canceled after objections from China and is yet to be rescheduled. When asked, Taiwan's defense ministry refused to comment. With both sides keeping quiet about what's happening behind the scenes, uncertainty may linger for some time. Justin Wu and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is seeing a surge in Chinese military activity amid discussions over why President Lai Ching-te's reported Latin America trip was pushed back. The Defense Ministry says it spotted 33 Chinese military aircraft and drones near Taiwan early on Wednesday. 23 of those aircraft entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This area isn't Taiwan's airspace, but acts as a buffer zone for defensive purposes. Taiwan says it's monitoring the situation. China has also been ramping up its military activity near Japanese waters. Japan's defense ministry spotted a Chinese military submarine rescue ship transiting the Tsushima Strait on July 25th. And around the same time, Chinese state media released footage of J-20 stealth fighter jets flying over the Tsushima Strait. They say the aircraft are the same ones that conduct patrols around Taiwan. To find out more about China's increasing military presence in the region, Alan Liu spoke with Danjiang University defense analyst Lin Yingyou.
China has been more active near the Tsushima Straits recently. Why do you think Beijing is stepping up activities at this particular time?
它有一个目的，第一个就是它会是希望让日本不要把重心就是放在我们所谓的宫古海峡或者是西南海域，它会 让日本也会感觉到，它在日本海这一带，或者是在对马海峡这一带，也会去造成日本的威胁。它有一点要去逼迫日本的舰队或日本的防卫回防的意味。
Why is the Tsushima Strait strategically important, particularly for Japan and Taiwan?
对于这些海峡，从近新海峡、对马海峡或者宫古海峡，甚至是巴士海峡，这一些都是解放军的船舰想要可以去突破到太平洋，就突破第一岛链的几个要口。那它可以去透过今天在这边的军队或舰队的一些行动，代表不是只有巴士海峡跟宫古海峡，我还有其他的地方可以去突穿。那这样子是不是会去迫使日本跟台湾就会彼此之间会有一些自顾不暇，或者是无法去做管理，或者是必须要去加强更多台日或其他国家的军事上面的合作，才有办法去围堵中国这样子的一个行动。
Looking at these developments, how can Taiwan, the US, Japan, and South Korea work more closely to deter China's growing military presence in the region?
首先第一个可能就是我们在这一个武器系统上面是不是有办法连线？因为像日本也有去，不管是12式飞弹或新式的飞弹，它基本上希望去强调的是用陆地去控制海洋。那可是今天如果它今天是走其他的海峡，可能我就飞弹没有部署在这里啊。所以其实今天会去强调的是，在以美国为首的这些国家，是不是有共同的通讯系统或通讯协定？在现在或许没有办法，但是当必要时候、战争的时候，这一些国家是不是有一些彼此的互助的协定，或者是在系统上面的连线？我会觉得这一些都会是现在我们第一个要去做突破或合作的地方。
That was defense analyst Lingying Liao from Danjiang University. An international organization that aims to address challenges posed by China is set to hold its first gala in Taipei in August. The Interparliamentary Alliance on China, or IPAC, is a group of legislators from around the world who work to combat China's efforts to erode democratic institutions. It says the Taipei Gala is a show of support for Taiwan at a time of growing uncertainty. The event is scheduled for August 26th. The U.S. and China have wrapped up a third round of trade talks in Sweden with no major breakthroughs, as the U.S. races to finalize deals with its biggest partners before an August 1st tariff deadline. Others, including Taiwan, are still in the negotiating phase. Aichi reports.
U.S. and Chinese officials depart from a government building in Stockholm after finishing their latest round of trade talks. Beijing says a 90-day pause on U.S. tariffs could be extended.
根据中美双方的共识，双方将继续推动美方已暂停的对等关税24%部分，以及中方反制措施，继续如期展期。
While the U.S. side says the decision needs approval from the top.
He'll have the final decision. I think our Chinese counterparts have jumped the gun a little and said that we do have an extension. I can say that the meetings were very far-reaching, robust, and highly satisfactory.
This latest round of talks reportedly focus on topics like rare earth supply and China's purchase of sanctioned Russian and Iranian oil. Both sides touted progress, though no major breakthroughs were announced and details remain murky. But U.S. President Donald Trump is confident a meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping is now more likely by the end of the year.
He wants to meet, and I look forward to the meeting too, but I would say before the end of the year. I mean, just to go full circle.
It comes as the U.S. and the European Union scramble to finalize a major trade deal ahead of Trump's Friday deadline. The agreement sets a baseline 15% tariff on most EU imports. Trump has hailed it as the biggest of them all, outstripping deals reached with other major trading partners like Japan and Vietnam. But many countries, including Taiwan, are still negotiating with the U.S. Bloomberg reports that Taipei is being asked to boost its U.S. investment to avoid a potential 32% tariff. Still, the U.S. says there's not much to worry about for those countries that have not struck a deal yet.
I would think that it's not the end of the world if these snapback tariffs are on for anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, as long as the countries are moving forward and trying to negotiate in good faith.
The new trade deals have raised confidence in some corners and prompt International Monetary Fund to raise its 2025 global growth forecast to 3%. But the IMF warns that looming tariffs, stalled trade talks, and a return to protectionist policies could drag down growth and drive up inflation in the months ahead. Joseph Wu and Ai-Chi for TaiwanPlus.
President Lai Ching-te says he's taking responsibility for his party's shortcomings after a recall movement launched by civic groups failed to unseat any opposition lawmakers.
民进党做的不够的地方，我要承担所有批评，也要向所有投入的公民团体与支持者深深致上歉意。
Lai, who is also chair of the Democratic Progressive Party, said he respects the outcome of the vote. Voters overwhelmingly rejected campaigns that sought to unseat 24 lawmakers from the main opposition Kuomintang. Another vote to recall 7 KMT legislators is scheduled for August 23rd. Lai has ordered the DPP to offer full support to civic groups overseeing the remaining recall campaigns. New figures from Taiwan's finance ministry show that the gender income gap dropped in 2023, though there's still a significant difference. On average, women had an annual total income of $16,000 while men made just over $25,000 or 1.57 times more for a gender pay gap of just over 36%. That's slightly down from the previous year when men made 1.6 times more than women. Intense rainfall in central and southern Taiwan has caused flooding and triggered landslides.
系啊，半暝啦，几点我是无清楚，但是就是遮若见迄个就是这边吃水流啦。
Landslides blocked highways, flooding and power outages have been reported from Taichung to Jiayi. The area has seen short bursts of intense rainfall every day over the past week. The government has spent more than $300 million trying to boost flood controls in Jiayi and Tainan, but residents are asking why things are still not back to normal. An elementary school baseball team from Taiwan is heading to the U.S. to compete in the Little League World Series. These young stars are hoping to outdo last year's performance and bring home the top spot. These young sluggers are going to travel a long way to play baseball. They're headed for the sport's heartland, America, to compete in the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The team is from Dongyuan Elementary School in Taipei. They earned their spot after winning a regional tournament in South Korea earlier this month and will represent the whole of the Asia-Pacific region. Since 1969, teams from Taiwan have won the Little League World Series some 17 times, the most out of any Asian country. But it's been nearly 3 decades since the last title in 1996. Last year, a team from Taoyuan in northern Taiwan finished runner-up to a team from Florida. Leading this team is Lai Minnan, Dongyuan's longtime baseball coach, who has developed dozens of Taiwan's pro players.
台湾已经29年没有拿到冠军了，那小孩子也非常有信心啊。但是比赛就是要一鼓作气啊。我觉得我们在韩国的比赛到现在，士气蛮高昂的。
These elementary school students have already beaten the competition in Asia, proving they're the best in the region. But they're not stopping there. Now they're headed to faraway Williamsport, where they want to stake their claim as best in the world.
大家有没有信心？有。
Fu Huahong and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus. And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, check out these rescued axolotls at the Rio de Janeiro Aquarium, which is helping raise awareness about the fight against wildlife trafficking. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.